Oh, Janine's here.
Janine's here.
Oh,
Yeah, I tell you, it's a good thing we're starting late because now she won't be late. She's online.
I know. Now, does she add color for you?
What's that?
Is she the color? She adds color?
Oh, yeah.
It's Janine.
It's Father Chris and Johnny Rocks, and you're sitting right over there.
Thank you.
Come on, make some noise here. Clap your hands, everybody. Come on.
Live from the studios of Hamilton Radio. Welcome to Souled Out, the only Christian music program dedicated to independent Christian artists, their music, and their ministries. Now, here is your host, Ministry Director of the Souled Out Coffee House and live sound engineer, John Akunzo.
How you doing, everybody? And welcome to Sold Out. I don't know whether you could hear me, but I guess you can. So I figured maybe I speak louder and it could get to 14 million people that way. You welcome to the Sold Out program. We're so grateful that you're here today with us. As I said, we always have a great time, and the whole point of the program is to make a joyful noise unto the Lord, and so that people can see Christ through what we're doing. It's not about us. We must decrease so that He can increase. So in any case, I have a very special show for you today with two very special people. And before I introduce them, of course, our program coordinator, Janine, Jan Domenico's in the house as usual. We're always glad when she could make it. And we're just grateful to have you. And you've made it after all of that stuff, right?
Yeah. Oh, you have no idea.
Yeah. So you have no idea, too. Wait till you hear what the guests went through to get here today. We're gonna, it's incredible. But I'm very honored. It's been a long time. I discovered this gentleman a long time ago, but it's taken us a while to get it coordinated because he lives in Indianapolis, Indiana, and he came all the way out here to New Jersey with his partner in crime, who does the great vocals on their stuff and in concert. But anyway, he calls himself Cool Hip Priest. And this is Father Chris Lee.
Hi, everybody.
And he really is a priest.
Yeah, that's true.
Hence the outfit. If I knew he was going to do that, I wouldn't have even worn my trusty brand new Cool Hip Priest T-shirt today. I would have worn my collar. I don't get to wear it that often.
That's the first one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
Nice.
that's the very first one.
The very first one. We're debuting it today on today's show. And with him, who, like I said, she's a trooper, and she has to be a powerful force because if not, the devil wouldn't be trying to take her out. And she actually has tonsillitis and had to go to urgent care prior to their appearance yesterday and urgent care again today. But the fabulous Donnie Rocks over here.
Yay! Thank you guys for having me.
As Father Chris says, she's the cool hip part in the priest thing.
Yeah. We almost named it Cool Hip and the Priest.
Right, Cool Hip and the priest.
Made more sense.
She's the cool hip
Definitely.
part.
She's the cool hip part. And she's a trooper. So she's a trooper because she came in
It's just a
here.
little strep throat. I mean, it's fine. Don't get too close to me.
Oh, yeah. like that's it. And the bartender just slid in my drink here.
The bartender.
Yes. Set him up, Joe. Anyway.
Shots.
But anyway,
Exactly. They're little
right.
babies.
But anyway, we're glad you're here today. And as you can see, we're not like your average Christian stuffy program, even though we have a priest on the dais today. You'll see that he really is cool, really is hip, and we are here to have a good time. Because you see, the Bible says that I came that you might have life and have it boringly. No, it doesn't say that. I came that you might have life and have it in really bad. No. He says, I came that you might have life and have it abundantly.
Amen.
So the only stuff you got to give up is the bad stuff, but he's going to replace all the bad stuff with good stuff that you would never even imagine you could have.
Yes.
Trust me. I was a stupid 14-year-old kid when I received Christ as my Savior. I was ready to commit suicide because I was a nerd. I was unliked by my peers. I really didn't want to be around anymore, And then God came and saved me. We don't save each other. God saves us. So we're out here. So even if one of you gets touched today by today's program, then we've done what we're supposed to be doing today.
For sure.
I don't care whether there's 10 million people out there today or whether there's 5 people out there today. We're here for you. Like I said, you're going to be entertained, but actually you're going to learn a lot, hopefully, through today's experience as well. So, Father Chris, are you one of those child prodigies that, since teen years you wanted to be a priest and all that stuff?
Yes.
Give us
Yes.
a story of how the whole thing started.
Totally, yes.
Donnie says
Well,
yes.
I'll just go ahead and cop a nap. We'll be here for a while.
Yeah, now Peanut Gallery, she'll chime in on it.
Okay, that's fine. She can.
She keeps me pretty straight shooter. So, actually, you know what? I gave my heart to Jesus Christ when I was 5 years old.
Awesome.
My grandfather was a pastor, and was one Sunday we were in the church, and like every other Sunday, my mother and I lived with my grandma and grandpa, and because my father died when I was about 4,
Right.
and so he was a full-time pastor. And we lived in the parsonage of this one church in eastern Kentucky. Shout out to my home folks in Flemingsburg, Kentucky, where I was raised and where I'm from.
There you go.
But that Sunday he was just preaching, and as he preached, I became very aware that what he was preaching was for me.
Wow.
And he gave an invitation, which was in our tradition. It's common for us to give invitations to come and give your heart to Jesus. And
Right.
he did that morning, and I was sitting in the seat like I'd done so many Sundays before, only this time my eyes began to well up with tears, and I knew that I needed to go. And so I did. I went forward that Sunday
Awesome.
at 5 years old and gave my heart to Jesus Christ, and the rest was history.
Wow.
I knew from that day.
You knew from that day that you were
From
going to
that day.
eventually be called to ministry.
Absolutely.
And to the pulpit.
Tell them when you preached your first sermon.
Well, all right, that's a matter of, John, this is a matter of debate.
Okay, that's fine.
Some believe that I preached my first sermon at 3.
Wow.
I don't remember that so much, but my mother used to take me. My grandfather also preached in different churches, and my mother was a singer, and so she would take me with her to do her engagements.
Right.
And as I'm told, folklore here.
Sure.
It was common for me to put on a suit just in case the preacher was no good.
The preacher was no. Wow. Wow.
And so I think really my very first sermon, I was 10. And I still remember it, I preached Matthew chapter 24.
Wow.
About the end times. I was 10 years old, and even today, after all this time and 22 years in the ministry and a phenomenal education, and I've been able to travel and preach all over the world, and I would tell you to this day, I would not preach Matthew 24 any differently
than I did
when I was 10.
10 years old.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's how it started, and I was the kid, because we lived in the rectory there.
Okay.
Where the church was. So, or the parsonage, depending on your tradition. I was the kid that would sneak over into the church through the week and spy on the Sunday school lesson.
Oh.
So that I could get it in advance. And then when Sunday came, I knew all the answers. I was that kid.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know that you're with an organization called CEEC now, the Communion of Evangelical Episcopal Churches.
That's a mouthful.
Isn't it?
It is. That's why we say CEEC, because it's a lot easier than Communion of Evangelical.
And during the days when you were a young fellow, were you also with the Episcopal Church back then? Or
No. My grandfather was a United Methodist.
Oh, UMC, okay.
And so I grew up with him in Methodist churches.
Wow.
And then, on my own, I found the CEC, or maybe they found me.
God just
God led me there.
That's where you're supposed to be.
And so I knew that they were right for me.
Wow.
You can't beat a bunch of born-again, spirit-filled, not afraid of Jesus, evangelical, sacramental Christians.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's great because I've been a Christian. When I said the story in my opening that I always say about me accepting Christ when I was 14, that was 1974.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just to show you what an old dude I am now. But I've never run into anyone else in the CEEC until I met you.
Really?
And so it's to me, it's why I'm so fascinated with it. It's not because, let me see if I could catch this guy in some heresy and see if we can get him. No, it's because I'm fascinated because I've never heard of it before. And I thought I heard of every denomination. I've spoken and been a guest or been involved in every denomination that I thought I didn't know. But this is it's such a cool thing. I read some of the website distinctives, and it almost reminds me of the early church when the apostles were doing it in houses.
Yeah.
Because, it was very Gregorian as far as music-wise and very liturgical as far as everything else.
Yeah.
So I'm not afraid of liturgical churches or ones that use Gregorian chants, although I prefer something a little more contemporary like what you're going to do today.
Well, that's the beautiful thing. One of the things that I love the most about the CEC is it's all of that in one.
Yes.
Yeah, I have the blessing to go out and play Christian metal, Christian hard rock. We have blessing to sing contemporary music. We might kick it up, kick it old school and throw a little Greg chant in there.
Wow.
But it is the freedom to respect and understand the streams of the church. There's one holy Catholic and apostolic church.
Right.
And there's three streams that, the evangelical stream, the charismatic stream, and the sacramental stream. And for the CEC,
embraces all three.
We like to say it this way. We used to say one river with three streams.
That's
now
amazing.
we say one river with three currents.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a cool way
Because
of
there's
looking at
one church. And so, I'm bilingual. I speak charismatic, I speak evangelical, and I speak sacramental.
It's great.
That's cool.
And like I said, who knows if the Haven doesn't play their cards right, I might find out about CEC.
Let me know. I know some folks.
I know because the thing is that I was called to ministry, but I never knew when, where, or how. And one of the things the Lord wanted me to do, and I understand why now that I'm older, is I didn't get married till I was 45, and he didn't have anybody even notice my gifting in that area until right after I got married. And all of a sudden, my wife is from Ghana. And I wanted to find a church in Philadelphia. I knew I was going to move from North Jersey, and I wanted to find a church that she would feel at home in. And at the time, I'm not at home. That I would feel at home in, at least it wouldn't be as big a culture shock for me. Right. So we found a little charismatic church called Church of the Living God Holy Ghost Intercessory Ministry. So if you think CEC is a big,
that's a mouthful too.
So Church of the Living God Holy Ghost Intercessory Ministries. The third power divided by 3 incorporated.
What's the square root of this apartment?
A 501c3 company. Anyway, but the thing is that Pastor Dolape was a great pastor, and a couple things God was teaching me through that whole experience, as I'm sure He's done maybe when you were in other churches before you were CEC, or when you were visiting other churches even. I had a real big aversion. See, one thing about God that I want all of our listeners to know, and they might have heard this before, but it's been a while since I talked about it, is that never say never to God. I will never do this, or this will never happen. That word.
That's like asking for it.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I just don't even do it.
Because what's going to, right.
I'm not going to tempt anybody.
Right. But a lot of times we don't realize because we're saying it to ourselves, not realizing He hears us even when we're not specifically praying to Him. But never let that utter from your mouth, especially when it comes to another ministry. So I said, I will never, ever sit under the pulpit of a female pastor. Period. Okay, well, guess who? Pastor Dolape is a female pastor at the church. And guess who's the only person to say, I see something in you. We need to call together an ordination council. You need to be examined. Have you ever thought about being ordained as a pastor? She was the one he gave the vision to because I said never.
Right.
Just like when the stupid Israelites said, we hate this manna. We wish we were back in captivity because at least we'd have meat and things like that. All right, I'm going to give you quail till it comes out of your nostrils. How about that? And that's a direct quote from Scripture. That's not me being irreverent about the Lord. He said, I'm telling you, you have quail until it comes out of your nostrils.
That's a fantastic episode of not really understanding or appreciating what you actually have. I don't think for a moment they realized that they were eating the bread of angels, the Bible says.
I would have loved it.
Yeah.
I would have realized it right away. I said, well, give me more of this.
It says it's kind of like coriander.
Right.
But When was the
tasted
last
good.
time you ate coriander?
No, it's been a long time since I had any bread with coriander seeds. When one of my old-fashioned friends made the bread. It might have been a monk. We were talking about that yesterday.
Yeah. Monks make great bread.
They do make very
Great
good
bread.
bread. That's where Pastor Chris is going to explain. He's going to retire to Monkland someday.
As he should.
Monastery.
Solitary life sounds good for you, kid.
Yeah, right. But
You
anyway,
miss me.
but you're right. You're absolutely correct. I would have recognized it for what it was, but they were just so narrow-minded, and as I said, stiff. Stiff. Your people are a stiff-necked people.
Stiff-necked people. Yeah.
That was a good way to say in the Italian vernacular. We have a word for hard-headed. We call it gavadost. Okay, because I'm Italian. Okay, and my uncles would use that all the time. And so that's a hard head.
Yeah.
That's a hard head. And it's amazing. You wouldn't have had to beat me over the head back then. I would have been happy to get the heck out of Egypt. And not have to worry about the whole thing making bricks and those. Oh, hello. There's a little music there.
I know.
Anyway,
I was like,
you never know. Things will pop in and out. You never know. That's live radio, ladies and gentlemen.
Live radio.
It's great. It's great. So, Donnie, what's your story? How did you find Jesus as your Savior and to get you where you are today?
Well, I was a little more hard-headed.
Okay. Well, it took me till I was 14, so it took me a while.
It took me a lot longer than that.
Okay.
I went to church up until about 14, 15, Missionary Baptist Church. I think I was baptized when I was about 10. There wasn't very good, say, youth ministries at the church that I went to, so most of it went over my head. And so then I remember this year I was doing marching band, and so we were getting back from competitions really late, and then I took it upon myself to be like, well, I think I'm too tired for church. And so then the falling away begins. And so I went out in the world and tried to do things my own way, which always...
how'd that work for you?
Yeah, how's that working for
You're
you?
talking about a hard head. A hard
all
head
been
makes
there.
a soft behind is what,
Right,
what
exactly.
comes to mind in that is I just went out and wanted to live my life and began to do all sorts of crazy things, and sin leads to death. And so I was just slowly dying inside. And so I think I met this guy when I was like 27, 28-ish.
That's when you met Father Chris?
Yes.
You were 27?
Yes, and so when we met, obviously...
Was he a priest at the time?
He was a pastor at the time.
Okay.
I
He
had
was not
met the
ordained
great
as a
folks
priest
at
yet.
the
Yes, he was just a regular pastor.
I was one of the classic, we call those the classic non-denom.
The
Yeah.
non-denom.
Non-denom
Right,
pastor.
and as comedian Tim Hawkins says, that's just a Baptist church with a fancy website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
That's Tim Hawkins.
Pretty much.
Okay.
So, we met, and he just asked me the question, well, are you a believer? And I'm just kind of like, I don't know. Like, I went to church when I was younger. Well, are you against it? No. So when we first met, I asked him to teach me about Jesus without using the Bible because, I'm hard-headed. I want it in my own way. So we went through, and he taught me about Jesus without using the Bible.
Never opened the Bible.
Was
That's cool.
amazing.
That's
And
so
then
cool.
literally within 6 months, we were ministering together at a church.
Mm-hmm. Well, when she asked me, let me tell you something. That's not when somebody asks you, I want to know about Jesus, but I don't want you to use the Bible.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize that historically, archaeologically, there is overwhelming evidence of Jesus, his life, his ministry outside. We call that extra biblical, but outside of the Bible,
Right.
You can find a lot. And so I turned her to study some of the notes from Josephus and some of the notes from Pliny the Younger and some of these other folks that wrote about their encounters with Jesus and the apostles
Right.
outside the Bible.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I showed her the historical Jesus of Nazareth,
Wow.
and then encouraged
Yeah.
her
It is cool.
to introduce herself spiritually to the King of Kings.
Wow.
Well, God gives you
Wow.
exactly what you need because I probably would not have been in a church. So God was like, so I'm going to give you a pastor. So
Yeah.
you can't run.
Wow.
And it wasn't long after that. She gave her heart to the Lord, and
Gave
then
my
the
heart
next thing
to
you
the
know,
Lord.
I was inviting her to come and sing in the worship band, And then the next thing you know, we were doing Bible studies and stuff. And then the next thing you know, the senior pastor of the church said, "I think you guys should get married."
Oh, just like that. And you didn't even court yet. He didn't even get
Just
to the
out of the
courtship
blue.
stage, but just from doing all that stuff together,
I think you
he
guys should
thought
get
that it would be a
married.
good yoke.
It was a couple, and they both said, "We really are praying, and we think you should consider getting married."
Oh, that's awesome.
And so, well, so we did.
How many years ago was that? How many years was your anniversary coming up? How many years?
Our
ago?
anniversary just passed. We've been married 9 years.
9 years?
Yes.
God bless you guys. I
9
just had my
years.
fourth. Like I
Thank
said,
you.
I'm a lot
I
older.
know.
Than,
Y'all should pray for me. It's been rough.
Oh, that one hurt.
I'm a lot older
Breaks
than
your
y'all,
heart.
and I've been married 14 years now to a young woman who's 17 years my junior.
Yeah.
So you want to tell me you've been through a lot?
God's giving you a run for your money, too.
Yeah, because after my father-in-law, who I never met, and I'm still very angry. It's the only political or even apolitical thing I'm going to say on the air is that they let so many people in legally. Now we'll just talk. Forget all the other stuff. Legally, let so many people in. When we filled out all the paperwork for Dad, they kept declining it because the people that were working in the embassy over there, not here, were all locals. And they realized, first of all, they were sour grapes because they want to come to America.
Right.
Secondly, they realized that the people upstairs that are actually the government employees that we send over that work the embassy, that actually manage the upper management, they get like 10 times the salary that the highest paid local supervisor that's down in the unit where all the work really gets done. Yeah. So they were sour grapes. So what they look for when you hand them the file, like, here's the file, and what they do is like, because they're on camera now, they're looking for money inside the file. And if there ain't no money in there, oh, I'm sorry, we'll come back in 6 months. Dink.
Right.
And that's what happened with that. As a result, my father-in-law passed away without getting the simple medical care that I was trying to get him in the United States, which was a simple, normal protocol here for a person that has had a stroke, a minor stroke. And because he didn't do that, when you don't do that simple medication or that simple treatment that you would get here, eventually that little tiny thing grows and grows and grows until you're dead. But see, they don't have the technology over there. We have it here. I even had the teaching hospital in Newark, New Jersey. My friend Dr. Bernard Gardner, who's the director of surgery, they were going to take it as a project. So once I got him to the soil,
You just needed
it
to
would
get
have
him here,
cost
right.
him nothing. And like I said, University Hospital saved my life when I had 48 hours left to live when I was 38 years old. They saved
What
me. So that was the same guys that did it. Well, what happened with me, I don't want it to all be about me, but if my guests want me to talk, I will. Especially since we're trying to kill time anyway today, so we get everything in order. Because like I said, the devil's trying to even do a number here at the studio today. That's why, if you guys only knew what it takes to get this show on the air, but that's how we know it's important that what we're saying and what we're doing is for you guys. So, or else there wouldn't be any outside force trying to stop it. So, what happened to me was I was born blind. Okay, I couldn't see when I was born, and I've had 7 eye surgeries. And what happened was the last couple of eye surgeries was when I was 30-something years old because I had cataracts coming out of the womb, which most people don't get till they're old. I had them coming out of the womb.
Wow.
They call them congenital cataracts. Still very rare. You don't see many babies that have it. So back in those days, in 1960, that shows you once again my age. I just turned 59, proud of it. Back in 1960, what they would do is put a small hole in the clouded lens so that the light could pass through the lens and go to the back of the eye where it tells the brain what it's seeing.
Right.
And the result of which is you had to wear these big Coke bottle glasses. That people used to make fun of you, with these big, because they would distort the appearance of your eyes.
Oh,
from
the real big
outside.
ones, yeah.
So I had a really, really wonderful childhood since that
I'm
all
sure.
happened when
People are so
my first
kind.
operation was when I was 4, okay? And my last operation on that was when I was 8. So they did this, so I had them, right? So when I became a teenager and in high school, going into my junior year of high school, they tried this before, but the technology wasn't there. They had soft contact lenses now, not the hard hard ones, that really uncomfortable, soft ones. But I couldn't coordinate because I was in another issue when I was born. I was in a coma because I had blood sugar issues that they didn't test for, and today they test babies for them, so
Right.
no baby has to go through what I went through. And so I have bad coordination as a result of that. And so what I did was, it took me years to learn how to open my eyes and put the contact in until I developed my own technique, which works perfectly, and my eyes don't flinch either. I could still do it. You know, having a contact for years, you'll see it, my eye doesn't flinch when my finger goes right up to my eyeball. And
Yeah.
everybody else be like that. So I found a brave surgeon that is, because I developed an allergy to contacts, I was now at a dead end. Boom. I could either go back to the Coke bottles that bring back all the traumatic memories all over again, which I believe that God came that I have a new life, that old things become new in Christ. So I said, Lord, this can't be your will. This is impossible. Why would you make me take a giant step back? So so the doctor told me, well, you got two choices. You could either go back to the Welsh 4 drops, that's what those Coke bottles are called, Welsh 4 drops, or you could find a brave surgeon that is schooled in implants, because that's all they do now, that's willing after 36 years to open up your eyes, which is very, very rare because you could go blind,
Right.
and willing to put those implants in there. I found one. He was the first doctor in New Jersey to operate on 3.5-year-olds.
Wow.
And he's still doing it to this day. His name was Joseph DeLuca. And Joseph DeLuca, the good thing about him is he has the worst bedside manner, treats you like absolute dirt. But God, I already
The
knew
really
in my
good ones
mind
sometimes are.
that I already knew in
They're
my
getting
mind
down
that
to business.
that's the guy I want.
Yeah.
Because he's full of himself. I mean, this guy is full of himself, worse than any musician you've ever encountered on the road. He is full of himself, Father. And let me tell you, he was the guy. And because he was so full of himself, I could do this piece of cake.
Right.
You don't want to lose your sight. Don't worry about it, kid. I'll do it. You know. So he did it, and all that stuff. So one day I was fine. Next thing you know, I happened to cough, and my eye filled with blood, because when you cough and bend over after eye surgery, do that. So I was blind, black, total black. So obviously, I started getting other pains all over my body and weakness and all that. So Dr. DeLuca, all of a sudden he lost the poor bedside manner, and now he was in panic mode, saying, "What did I do? Like, how do I, you know?" So he didn't know what to do. So they sent me back to the university, and they found out, after examining everything from here to here and never going down here, I was always predisposed to diverticulitis. And they found out that my colon had perforated somehow, and I was poisoned. I had pyorrhea in my body,
goodness.
and I had 48 hours left to live. Okay, because finally I said, look, guys, I'm hurting in other spots of my body. So you guys know from my medical history I have diverticulitis. I demand that you bring me a gastroenterologist, because they weren't going to bring it to them. They were just following the eye doctor.
Right.
So one day, I got so fed up that I got out of my bed. They gave me a nice private room, because they figured, this guy's going to be trouble. They give him a private room.
We don't want him tainting anybody else.
But anyway, actually, but then I was still. I didn't go to private room. Yeah, I was still in a semi-private room. So I had another guy in there. I felt bad for him because he had to hear all this stuff. I apologized to him every morning, and he'd tell me, "Don't, it's okay. Don't worry. You're going through a lot, man.
Yeah.
You're making my stuff feel easy, because you're going through a heck of
we
a
all
lot
know
more than
you're
I am."
such a
That was
shy
the other
guy.
patient, right? So one day I got up, I went to the bathroom, and I kind of passed out trying to go to the bathroom, right? So I grabbed onto the pipe underneath the sink, because it's exposed. There's no vanities in the bathroom. You see the pipe there, right? And I pulled. There's that little cord in case you need the nurse while you're in the bed. You pull. I ripped it out of the wall purposely. Ripped it out of the wall. So now it's going to keep going off no matter what they do.
Right. You're
They
going to
sent me
come
a
find
nurse,
me.
this little teeny weeny Indian lady, really cute, but she was the overnight nurse. She was a rookie, so they would put the rookies on overnight with the bad shift, right? "Oh, Mr. Kunzel, you're so ill. You must go back to bed." I said, "Lady," I said, "I love you to death, but I'm not moving from here until I see a gastroenterologist standing next to you."
Oh, you're such a brat.
Yeah, I know, I'm a brat. But thank God, or else I'd be dead.
Only Janine can say that.
But
Right.
she can. You guys can too. I feel close enough to you guys. You can too. But you see, and so finally they brought me a gastroenterologist. And finally he gave me a CAT scan. And after that, they were real quiet. He gave me all kinds of nice drugs. And I was like hearing Jimi Hendrix. And I felt great. I said, you fix it already? Or is that just a drug? No, that's just the medication. That's just the medication. We didn't fix it yet. Next morning, the doors of the hospital room come flying open. And here comes all these little tiny satellite people in white coats with laptops. They were the students from the college. And then the water part's like the Red Sea. And down the middle comes a big guy with white hair. He's the professor. They didn't send anybody. They sent me the director of surgery.
There you go.
Because they thought they were going to get sued. And he told me the whole thing. And he realized I understood medical terminology. So we're speaking the same language. No problem. You don't have to water nothing out for me. I said, okay, let me call my mother and my girlfriend and listen. No, you don't understand. You have to go to surgery now. I said, I know. Hey, just give me the phone. You don't understand, Mr. Kunze. You're going to surgery now.
It's urgent.
I said, oh.
Yeah, like right now. Right now, right
so
now.
So the nurses then came in and started prepping me. And what came to mind, why wasn't John scared during this whole time? You had to realize, I haven't told you I was frightened, right? Just before I had that eye surgery, one of my good friends, who's from the charismatic stream, had a word of knowledge over me, and he never gets words of knowledge. Never. And he stopped praying, because he was praying for me to go, let John have a good eye surgery and blah, blah, blah. Usual thing, like I'd pray for you if you were going to the hospital. And they stopped dead. I said, James, what's going on? God told me so. It doesn't make any sense, but I got to repeat it to you, because every time I try to blow it out of my mind, so he said, I'm going to be fixing more than your eyes. That was before I went to the hospital, before I realized that the colon. So see, when the colon perforated, I heard his voice. I'm going to be fixing more than your eye. So I knew it wasn't going to die.
Yeah.
So that's why when he said, we're taking me into surgery now, I said, oh, okay. Give me the paper.
Let's go.
Signed it. They had to sign the living will thing and the release of this and release of that. Here you go. And then when he left and all the satellites left with him and all the laptops left, the nurse that was prepping me handed me the phone. I said, that's ridiculous. She said, the nurse said, that's ridiculous. Here, you could make calls while I'm doing it here.
And you went off to surgery with a parade.
Right. So I called my mom, and then she made the calls to my pastor and everything. Right. And then I called my girlfriend at the time, and I let him know. And that's my story. And see, the timing is perfect, because here's my playlist, and now we get a break, and you don't have to hear me blab anymore.
Oh my goodness!
But anyway, see, so your story is great. In that, like I said, it took me till I was 14 to receive Christ, and I had to do my own thing. And
some of us are a little more hard-headed than others, and I'm one of the hardest-headedest.
And then I became a hard-headed Christian by saying I'm never going to have a woman pastor, and God said, "Oh yes, you are, because that's the only way you're going to go ordain. I'm going to give you one, and she's the one that's going to call the ordination council to ordain you." And she did. And Bishop Darlingston Johnson, who's on TBN every day, came up from Baltimore to pour the oil on my head and ordained me. And Bishop Johnson is the one that started that little African church that my wife still goes to this day in Southwest Philadelphia.
You're obviously fighting to be here, Mr. John. Yeah. People would have gave up.
Yeah.
You've had a hard road of staying, but you're fighting.
So that's why I love your story, because it just reminds me of what I went through, and it shows a perfect example of what God can do. Amen. If we let him, and if we yield to him, if we're not pig-headed and hard-headed. And sometimes even if we are, because he's going to teach us anyway, but it's going to be teaching us the hard way, and then we'll finally get to the end. So, but anyway, thankfully, we now have a playlist, folks, so you could hear it. We're going to play some music, and when we come back, we're going to have Father Chris and Donnie Rocks do some stuff for us.
Yay.
And the other thing today is we are debuting on today's show their brand new album that's never been released anywhere.
That's right, never even heard.
Right, and I am wearing their brand new shirt that goes along with that has not been released until today.
Have I even heard it?
Yes, and so we're going to be doing that.
Did I make it on any of those tracks?
Yeah, isn't that great? And so we are so excited, and that's why the devil didn't win, because he didn't take Donnie out. She got all her little medications and all that, and she's here today.
And a lot of prayers.
And a lot of prayers.
A lot of prayers.
A lot of prayers.
Yeah, I got a lot of people.
So with that being said, we know that hope is alive, because that's the first song we're going to hear. See, I didn't know that when I put it on the playlist, but Art Silvano, who started this show before I was, in 2012, when we started our first show called Sunday Worship and Talk with Art and John, he is retired, and he's formed a band called Two or More. And now because he felt led not to be on the air anymore, but to take our story about child sexual abuse and child trafficking with our business, the organization called Battle for Children Charities. He goes out and he does shows with my former co-host, who's no longer my co-host, Rich Sheffis. So that was God's will that Rich and Art are together.
Yeah.
And then he retired, so I could be here weekly with y'all.
Great.
And so every time we start off the show, I will always start off with something off an Art's EP. When he gets a new EP, we'll start with something from that. Because this is why we do what we do, folks, that there are children out there, over 3,000 cases just in the city of Philadelphia alone every year. And now that Art is retired, less than 7 detectives to work the caseload of 3,000 cases.
Wow.
So we do stuff to help the victims once they get rescued so that they have better forensics, and you don't have to tell their story 15 times to each person involved. They only have to
Right.
tell it once, and behind two-way glass, or one-way glass, whatever you call it, is all the other people. And everything's being recorded.
Right.
So the only person that a child sees is the person that's talking to them and their little chair that they're sitting in, and they don't realize all them people are back there.
Right, that's
So they only have to tell the trauma story once, and then when they need excerpts of it in trial, they just bring the videotape in from that, and you won't hear, "I object, Your Honor," because the person that's defending the perpetrator was in the room, so he knows that that's the tape because he was standing right behind the
Right.
glass. So it cuts a lot of trouble off of it. So Art, I will always support what he does.
Yeah.
And I will always support his ministry. So Hope is Alive. Followed by my good friend Anna Laverne, who used to be the Janine, who handled all the stuff. And her band Regenerated Soul with a song called Troubled Times. And we'll end off the set and come back hopefully live with some live music with the group that I want you guys to hear, Bricks No Straw, and a song called He's the Life. They were the one group that got me into hip-hop, Christian hip-hop, and Janine's going to get them on the show again for us. They had a problem where they couldn't come on a couple weeks ago, but they're going to be on.
They're so cool.
So you're listening to the Sold Out program, and it's appropriately it's coming up on the 6 o'clock hour, so it's station identification here on HamiltonRadio.net. Hope is Alive, Troubled Times, and He's the Life right here on Sold Out Radio, Hamilton Radio, channel HR2.
All right.
When you're broken and hurting, forgetting the meaning of the one who died on the cross. Your steps are unhealing, no reason, no meaning, all the worries that make you feel lost. Hope is alive. Hope is alive. Hope is alive in Jesus Christ. You're running on empty, feeling the frenzy of everyone hitting on you. Just up above you, the one who loves you will certainly see you through. With hope is alive. Hope is alive. Hope is alive in Jesus Christ. certainly set you free. Hope is alive. Hope is alive. Hope is alive in Jesus Christ. you blessed, you need proof, take a breath. Full control, why you all fired up, cause the Lord's so cold. Make you shiver, see your body quiver. Roll with the giver who stand and deliver. Though you're just a sinner, he turned you to a winner. Yeah, I know you're a real tough dude and you ain't no lame. Way too proud and you never complain. Life's stress can drive you insane. Just call his name, he cleanse you like rain. Now you feeling hype, all revved up like a motorbike. Ready to fly, he'll fuel your flight. Jesus be the way and the truth.
He is the Alpha and the Omega, aka the Lord God Almighty, the Savior. Erase away the pain with his blood, not that's paid up. The only way, the truth, and the life. He is the Alpha and the Omega, aka the Lord God Almighty, the Savior. Erase away the pain with his blood, not that's paid up. The only way, the truth, and the life. He's the light. He's the light. He's the light. The only way, the truth, and the life.
The
He's
Lord
the
told me I was
light.
made for this. His words in my heart, now my heart's in the mix. Milo, all licks, feel this, you can break the chain. Hear his word, he'll erase the pain. Christ ruling and he coming back again. Tell your enemy and tell your friends. Businessmen, teachers, and the hooligans. Student thugs are your addresses, the pen. Separate yourself from the world, we don't blend. His well run dry, rockin' Billy to the brim. Power, love, sound mind, ready for the end. Jesus came to eradicate your sin, so put down the gun, put down the knife, let's unite. Don't fight, he might be coming tonight. This is mud up in your eye to receive your sight. Jesus be the way and the truth and the lie. Lie, 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 lie.
He is the Alpha and the Omega, aka the Lord God Almighty, the Savior. Erase away the pain with his blood, not that's paid up. The only way, the truth, and the life. He is the Alpha and the Omega, aka the Lord God Almighty, the Savior. Erase away the pain with his blood, not that's paid up. The only way, the truth, and the life. He's the light. Oh, he's the light. The way, the truth, and the life. Oh, he's the light.
Hi, hello, Miss Farkle, and welcome to your first day at PJ's Pancake House's newest location in Robbinsville. And there's your first call.
Hello, PJ's Pancake House, Robbinsville. No, I'm sorry.
What was that?
They wanted to know if PJ's Pancake House is open for lunch and dinner.
Miss Farkle, PJ's is open for lunch and dinner. Be careful.
Hello, PJ's Pancake House, Robbinsville. I'm sorry, we don't.
And what was that?
They asked if PJ's has a bar area, you know, to watch the baseball games, NASCAR, or football.
Miss Farkle, take a look around you. What do you see?
PJ's Tavern with lots of flat screens?
Right.
Hello, PJ's Pancake House and Tavern. We're not just pancakes and breakfast anymore.
Plus, catch the game and enjoy PJ's new tavern menu. PJ's Pancake House isn't just for breakfast anymore. Get to the new PJ's in Robbinsville, 19 Main Street, across from the State Farm office, and online at pancakes.com.
And now we are back. You actually heard my mouth move, but nothing happened, thank goodness. So in any case, so you didn't get to hear the fun little segue we had into the new segment. Well, we're back here on Sold Out Radio program. I hope you enjoyed the music, because Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, and the only way that we can get to the Father. And we hope that you find him today, because it's not, even though we're having a great time, we're going to be helping you to laugh and joke, but it's all about him. We're his servants. So in any case, we're going to do is, so hopefully Ruben can hear me so he can unmute the channel. But we're going to debut something from Father Chris's brand new CD. So Father Chris, tell us a little bit about that, about this CD project.
Well, this is our second project. The first project was called Witness, and it's an EP, and so it's a lot of work when I do a project because I record all the instruments on the record myself.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
No studio musicians. Nobody comes in to play for me. I play every instrument. So everything you hear on a Cool Hip Priest track,
Right.
everything is what I do. So I have to do it track at a time.
Wow.
And so it's a very tedious work. And then when I get the music laid out, then Donisha comes in.
Right.
I've tried to get him to do my vocals too, but he just won't do it.
I could. If he stepped on my foot, I definitely could do it. If he kept his foot on my foot the whole time, I definitely could do it.
She's got great range. I wouldn't even try. But she'll come in and lay down the vocal tracks, and then that's how we work. That's how we kind of work through it. And so our first project is called Witness.
Wow.
And can I give it a plug?
Sure.
It's
Absolutely.
available. If you
we're
haven't
here.
checked out Cool Hip Priest yet, you've got to hear. We're going to debut the second one live right here on this show, but the first one's called Witness, and it's available on iTunes right now. You can get it on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Amazon Music. It's out there. Anywhere you want to buy music, you can go to coolhippriest.com.
And the stuff you're going to play live, is that got any?
We're going to play
stuff?
live. We're going to play stuff from the first record
There you go.
live,
Ooh.
and we're going to let you hear the finished tracks of the second record,
Excellent.
which is called All the Way.
Wow.
Nice.
And so I just kind shout out. We listen, and you and I have talked about this. And I know how you feel about labels.
Right.
We've got a beautiful little indie label.
Well, yeah, there's one called Raven Faith Records that I
Yeah.
support.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
indie labels is different than label labels.
Right. You and I,
Yeah.
we've had conversation
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
we,
we have no
like
problem with
indie
indie la-
labels.
we have no problem with
it's
indie
the
labels.
big labels.
Yeah.
It's the big guys. that
Well,
have
we
problems.
work with a fantastic label called Virtue International Records,
There you go.
and it's right out of Indianapolis. And
Awesome.
the
Nice.
executive producer's name is Del Bach, and Del is just a tremendous guy all the way around. He's also a pastor,
Wow.
and so he pastors and he does this.
Awesome.
And
Nice.
so,
That is very
you know,
nice.
he's just a lovely man. I mean that in every sense of the way. And so we go in, and he works in this stuff all the time. He makes us a little time. We come in, and we work a little while, and we work a little while, and he's been feverishly working. I don't know if he has fingers left,
Wow.
or eardrums for that
been
matter,
working overtime to get
mixing,
this done.
mastering, trying to get us ready for your show,
There you
because
go.
we wanted to debut this record on your show.
Awesome.
And the opening track is called All the Way.
Okay, and you're
Squeal.
queued up there.
I'm going to cue it up.
And so hopefully we got the track unmuted and we're ready to go. You're hearing this for the first time on Sold Out Radio, everybody. All the Way. Cool Hip Priest.
Left.
Yes. Here we go. See what happens here.
Maybe. Push it again.
There it goes. This time it's adjusting.
Sounds like he's adjusting it.
So big, so long, my back against the wall. Oppressed, suppressed, my fault, I'm in this mess. No pain, no gain, that's what they used to say. Not free from sin, don't know where to begin. I know I won't stop now, I know there ain't no way. I know I won't back
Like that.
down, I'm going all the way. I know I won't stop now, I know there ain't no way. I know I won't back down, I'm going all the way.
You guys can track here. I said I would drive that and see. That's more closer to indie than
There are very few venues that can afford the whole.
Know where to begin. He came, he saw, 2 months after the fall. His love, his grace, thrown right up in my face. My faith in him, I will begin again.
was a debut single called All the Way.
All the way.
I don't know why I want to say Don't Stop Now, which is also kind of cool because there's a lot of that in that song, too.
Yeah.
But I like it. It's catchy. It's really catchy, man.
Thank you.
And it's great that you kind of produced everything yourself. Sort of like our friend Eddie Mann, who I'm actually asked me to sing with him tomorrow night in concert. So he has like 4 guest singers going to sing on 4 different songs. That it's funny that the songs that we always kind of hum or sing is the ones that, well, it'd be kind of cool to get you guys, since you're always bugging me about that song, to get you guys to sing on those particular songs. So I'm singing a song I'm going to call The Hope of Your Calling.
Great.
And because I always just say that, I'm one of those kind of guys, I like to talk, I used to bust chops with my musician friends and talking song lyrics to them. I said, well, you know, so Eddie and I would say, well, you know, Eddie, it's just the hope of your calling, you know. So I do that all the time to him. So I said, well, now he's going to pay back me, and I got to sing it in front of a live audience tomorrow.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, so it should be fun. It should be fun. I look forward to that. So I have to rush right from the secular job, change the security uniform, and change it to my threads.
Your mini hats.
I dug out my Eddie Mann T-shirt, so I'll be wearing my Eddie Mann T-shirt tomorrow. So anyway, that was great, man.
Thank you.
And
we're going to bring a little picnic tomorrow night.
Right.
Yummy.
Right. So do you want to play something else for that, or would you like to play live, or just save the live stuff for the last segment, or whatever you want to do? I'm flexible.
You know, we're flexible.
All right, so let's play something else off the CD.
All right.
And just explain to us what we're going to be hearing and what it's all about.
All right. Well, the next song we're going to play is, you know, I think if you love guitar music.
Oh, I do.
And I think you do. This is the attempt. Everybody's always said, and when we play live shows, I do this little feature on a certain guitar I own, which name is Bones.
Right, I was just talking about that during the song.
Videos,
And
that's
so
the customized Schecter.
Bones is actually a Dean B. Zielinski LP.
Oh, wow.
And it's custom fit with EMGs and beautiful guitar. It's got a beautiful finish by the guy who does race cars.
Oh, wow.
And so I fell in love with it because I found it at a...
I found it.
Well, let me adjust.
Just saying.
We found it.
Let's go.
2 circles and a snap.
Yeah, we found it. Is that okay? And I looked at this guitar for months. Wow. And finally the manager of the store said, when are you going to buy it? I'm sick of looking at you. And so it came set up with everything I would have done to it.
Wow.
But it was the paint job, and I'm going to play it.
And was it secondhand at the time?
But that's
why I was sitting there.
Absolutely.
And he wanted to get it out of the store.
Somebody's baby, but it was made for me.
Absolutely.
And it's got a beautiful graphic of skull and crossbones on it, and it reminds me of the martyrs. The bones of the martyrs. You know, in the sacramental tradition, they will oftentimes clean the bones and keep them together with the saints ready for the resurrection.
Wow.
And so I thought, well, what better graphic could a heavy metal, hard rock, priest, guitar playing person have than this guitar with the skull on it.
Right.
So we named it Bones, and then the solo came out of that. We've been doing it in our live shows for a while. The song track is called Bones. It's a guitar solo.
Right.
And we love to play it, but...
do we love to play it?
Well, I love to play it. This is usually where Donisha takes her water break and gets her towel off the stage and gets her breath.
There's no place for her in the song with a guitar.
I go and hang out with fans and do stuff during this because I'm not needed.
Yeah.
Just your support, dear.
Oh, yes.
But you know in Ezekiel...
Yes.
When the Lord asks him very plainly, can these bones live?
Wow.
And he says, only you know, Lord. And that's the scriptural reference, the basis. I am trying to tell the story of Ezekiel and the dry bones with this song called Bones.
You're listening to it right here live on Sold Out Radio, HamiltonRadio.net.
go. That's mine.
No, I love it. I do. I love that one. And that one gets me. I love it. I love the words. I love the sound of it because it's got a different meaning than some of the other
More
ones.
creepy. I like them more creepy.
I like it because it really is. It's more powerful because it really has that aura, you know. And I forget what it does, but yeah.
So they came alive.
Yeah.
The bones.
See that? And we're back, everybody.
Welcome
Wow, that was pretty cool.
Thank
Hopefully, we'll have something that the non-guitar players know. I liked it because I mean I've been playing since I was 14, but I prefer the other side of the wire where the buttons are than the side with the strings.
Yeah.
That's why I became a sound man. But I just got a new guitar for my birthday. It's made by a company called Traveler out of California. And you've probably seen they make some really weird guitars because there's no headstock on them and they're just little tiny,
like the Steinbergers used to be.
and the tuning machine,
Yeah.
but the tuning machines are in the body.
Yeah.
Super
So,
cool.
like
And they've got
Steinberg.
some really strange looking bodies.
But
on
what
the-
they did
you know,
was they came out with something that
They're
looks
really
like a
funky
3/4
looking.
series Martin acoustic electric, which is what
Oh,
Eddie
wow.
Mann
Oh,
plays.
I love my Martins.
So the body of it is
That's
a
the best
it's like a little
sound.
3/4
I know.
series, and it's got a cutaway. But the cutaway, what they did was they heated up the wood to make the wood make the shape of the cutaway. So it's not cut away; it's just pushed in.
Gotcha.
So it looks like you put a dent in it, like you put a dent in a car, but it's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
it's got a headstock on it, which most of them don't. It's got the either, I think they're either Schaller or Grover machines on there, and it comes with the Diodario phosphor bronze, which that's my favorite string. It's a bright sounding string, but it'll fit in the overhead compartment on the plane, so you don't have to check it.
That's great.
In its gig bag, it comes with the gig bag, custom made gig bag.
That's great.
So for under $400, you could have the whole setup. So I kind of treated myself to a birthday gift.
Happy
This year.
birthday.
Happy birthday! So I had my
Happy
59th birthday,
birthday.
and so I wanted to learn how to play again. And I got a couple of good guys at church now that I have a home church, and we have a great worship band. And they also want to make sure to be nice to the sound man, the new sound man trainee, being moi, and so that I make them sound good. Because the first thing they noticed when I was on the board is that we could hear the guitar now. We couldn't hear the guitar all the other years. What happened? I said, because I know how to mix it in and blend it with the vocals. I'm a guitar player, even though I prefer not to perform. So anyway,
You know the sound.
but I would highly recommend this guitar if you want a small guitar that you could travel with, and you don't have the money for the Eddie Mann version of the Martin 3/4 series,
Right.
which is a
Gotcha.
really nice guitar. This thing, because it's got German, it's got the electronics made by a company called Shadow, so it's got German electronics in it and the built-in tuner. And so when you plug it in, you think you're playing a guitar worth like $5,000 when the real thing's like under $400.
Awesome. Just sounds
So
good.
I hope to get better, and so maybe someday when you do come acoustic, I could actually play a one.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anytime we're playing an acoustic, you bring it,
Yeah,
and we'll
I
do a
gotta
set.
learn.
You can come play with our set.
Yeah, I gotta learn chords all over again. The one thing I couldn't do, because I always used to have a full size, like a dreadnought style guitar, I couldn't learn bar chords because I got little fingers. But with this guitar, because it's smaller and because you could actually, because it's so small, you could actually have it on an angle where the neck's up here because the body's so small. And the other thing it's got is my dreadnought, because my arms are very sensitive skin, so it used to dig in. So after I'd be playing, you see this red mark here. This has that little rounded bezel,
Yeah.
so
Contour.
A little more
so you can
comfortable.
put your arm on it.
Nice.
So it was made for me. Almost like when he found his used guitar, it was like made for me. So I could actually do bar chords on this thing. And the reason why it's not here today is I was wondering why certain things were a little funky with it. And they said, well, did you have the guitar set up? Because I never bought a guitar mail order before. I always buy it at a music store. So when they give it to you, it's set up.
Right.
And I said, no, I didn't. Don't they do that? Well, no, because it's mail order.
Yeah.
They charge you. This company that I mail ordered it from would charge you like $45, and they would set it up. But the problem is if they really can't set it up correctly because you're not here playing it for them. Because part of the setup is basic stuff that they can look on and they know what it's supposed to be. But the other thing, a good setup guy, he said, play something for me because he wants to see what you're doing, and there might be a little tweak that he could do based on what you're doing. So I said, I didn't do it. So I found this guy. He's one of these kind of guys. Doesn't have a phone number, but he's like got all these. Because he's like one of these kind of a slightly reclusive guys. But he lives in a nice little row home in University City section of Philly called Andy's Guitar, and he got all these 5-star reviews and all these accolades from all these famous people. And he works for a company that actually rebuilds guitars. And he's a luthier too, so he could actually build you a guitar. But everybody says you got to go to him. So yesterday, you can only make appointments via email.
Okay.
And so, but we did it. We were able to do it. And I actually went there yesterday, and I was running late because there was traffic on 95, which is always traffic on 95 Philly. So I was like almost 40 minutes late, which is not my thing. But I couldn't call him because it's email. But luckily, so I got to the house right away. He was there, and I apologized. So sorry. He goes, "That's all right, man. I'm not used to it. It's not a big deal. I don't have a phone, man. So I prefer it this way,
Yeah.
So I said, cool. So he sat there, and he played a little bit. And he said, okay, I could get it done for you. I said, well, how much is it going to cost? He said, it shouldn't cost you more than $50 unless I really have to do a lot with the frets.
Yeah.
He said, because it sounds like one of your problem might be a fret issue. He says, he said, that some of these fret issues are actually over time, after playing it, you won't have it anymore. So that's kind of cool. So he says, so you won't have to send it back for under warranty and get another guitar. Because I said, I don't want to go all over again because then I got to pay another setup if they send me a replacement.
I got to give a shout out to a good friend of mine, Jeff Stiles.
Please do. Is that the guy that loans you stuff?
No, Jeff's the guy
get a
that does
shout out.
all my setups and make sure that it's all, anytime I get a guitar or a choir, and God has brought a few into our life, through the generosity of a lot of folks, but primarily through my good friend Jason England.
Wow.
We've been best friends since we were little kids. But,
Right.
But I always take it. Jeff Stiles. Jeff can watch my fingers.
Right.
He knows he just kind of watches me. He knows what I do. He knows how heavy my pick stroke is. He knows how much finger I'm putting on the fret.
See that?
He sets the action that responds to me. He sets everything. He checks the frets, and one of the real important thing is intonation.
Right.
You got to make sure that your guitar is in tune up on the neck as well as down on
Yep.
the neck.
Yep.
And that's a really big thing. I have a really my ear picks up intonation and it drives me bonkers, and he does all that.
And the problem is that this is an acoustic electric guitar, and it has one of the issues that I noticed. It has intonation issue.
Yeah.
And so he said now. He told me that this is not an electric guitar. He says it's going to be a little tricky me fixing the intonation, but I'll give it a shot because it's all would have to do with the saddle.
Saddle and the nut. Sometimes they can work with the nut. And
He says, but if I can't do it, or if it's going to cost a lot more, I'll let you know. But or if it's something that I don't think is going to settle in, and you have to get a replacement from the factory, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
It is warranted, so I'm not worried about it. It's only less than a month old.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
But
Send
this is the
things
kind of
back
guy you
after you
want. So
waited,
shout
though.
out to Andy's Guitar Repair. You could find him on you could Google it, because that's the only way you're going to get in touch with this dude. Is
Wow.
Google it. He has a website, and his email is the active link on the website, but there ain't no phone number.
Oh, well, what I was going to tell you is the absolute rock star of guitar repair and setups and everything in Philly here is DePintos on Girard Avenue.
Okay.
They've been there like forever. Dan, my husband Dan, he's
Right.
been taking his guitars there for decades. And
Now you tell
all
me,
of
right?
the
Now you
oh,
tell
you
me.
didn't ask, dum dum. I was just going to tell you, why didn't you
And
ask
all these people are getting free
me?
commercials. So, by the way, Andy, if you're listening, it depends if you're listening. We want sponsors on our show, and we have great guitar players that will do you justice. That like the one you're going to hear in a couple minutes. Okay, so we want sponsors. So you come, Stevo, because you got one of your biggest fans that happens to be my program coordinator. Okay.
Yeah. Well, Dan used to be the sound man, for one of the rock clubs
Sure.
down the street there, the Fire, for years, and all of the guitar players, all the bands that came through there, a lot of them, they all used to go to DePintos down the street. So you can buy, used and some amazing looking guitars that he's restored.
You got it. Next time you come through the air, we're just going to go hang out. Let's go. Let's take a little.
He's got stuff hanging on the walls. Some stuff
go
that
look. Let's go look.
some antique stuff in there that you
Famous
look and you'd be like,
last words,
whoa.
And if her husband's not working, we'll take Danny with us too, because Dan could play any instrument known to man.
Yeah,
awesome.
anything
in
you
their
can get
band
his paws
Eclectic
on.
Grace, he
Oh,
plays
those
like
talented
mandolin,
peoples.
guitar, drums.
awesome.
I call him Mr. Maestro.
Mr.
'Cause he-
Maestro.
yeah, Mr. Maestro. He goes in there and it's like anytime we go into Guitar Center or Sam Ash or any place that has multiple instruments in there, it's like, okay, the drool starts and he disappears, and it's like he just
In the
works
candy
works
store.
the room and he
There
just
you
goes
go.
from instrument
So
to
we're gonna do
instrument.
that. We
and
got to bring you to Depintos.
everything
man.
from
I never
That'd be
realized either.
ukulele.
Hey, let me know so I can bring my buddy Jason with me.
If you come
mandolin,
out and you tell me I'm coming and
drums.
Jason's going to be with me this
Jason,
week, I'll make the
look,
arrangement.
I take him just
try
about
to take him
everywhere we go,
everywhere.
because let me
We
tell you what
really
he
do.
does. He's a genius. I don't worry about anything when Jason's with me. He can set my rig up without me looking at it. If anything goes wrong with it, he can fix it on the spot. I mean, this guy's like the MacGyver of music. Like,
He really
he could literally put something together with a piece of gum and a string and an ink pen. You give him that much, he can
And
make
he-
you an
he
amp
got
out of
you.
that.
Right.
You know.
Well, that's
And
awesome.
he usually travels a lot with me, and he's so good to me. And sometimes he shows up with things like a tuner that he just says here, and
Life changing.
Yeah.
or he shows up at your house with an American Fender Big Apple Strat with Seymour Duncan's
And he
loaded
said,
in
here,
it.
here, play this.
Nice.
Or the other day when he showed up with a brand new Schecter with Seymour Duncan blackout pickups in it, or when he shows up and you're getting the idea here.
Right, exactly.
And we love to go with him. He's also a pilot, so sometimes
He can fly you around, so you don't have to,
Sometimes,
to rent a
yes,
car like you did this time, right?
I have many stories about Jason, but I will not share them on air.
Right.
But if you're listening, Jason, you know what they are.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shows you that we are live. I'm actually checking it. That's
Good
what I
job.
do. And
Yeah.
so we actually are live. How about that?
Yeah, so a lot of times when Dan needs his setups on any one of his different guitars, I mean, the one that he uses the most is the one we use in church, is his acoustic electric. But we do have, he does have a couple of different electric basses. We even have an upright bass that we've used for different things over the years. But that's where we go, and he'll drop them off or I'll drop them off, and we take turns picking them up, and they're fast, every time it comes back perfect. And, we've never had a problem with them. He's reasonable. They've even, depending on what is needed.
Guess what?
know.
My friend Chris Connolly's listening. He's a Grammy award-winning artist that also is a great sound engineer, one of my mentors, and he's been coming to the Haven, considering not necessarily going to set foot there as a permanent church, but I'm so happy because. But he's watching the show today. He says, "Hey, I do guitar setups too." He's watching you
See,
today.
you were the
And I have
Great plug-in.
the biggest shredder I know is a guy that actually did perform my first marriage ceremony on. His name is Vito. And Vito Galati is an unbelievable. He had a Christian hard rock band called Archangel.
Yeah.
and he's
Yeah.
he's listening. It's a cool
That's
show.
awesome.
So he's
Thank
actually
you.
this
Thank
is
you,
good
guys.
that this is the first time I've been able to get it on my Facebook first before having to share it.
Yeah.
And it
awesome.
pays off because everybody's listening. So
You were with us. Did you know that he was with us yesterday?
Yeah. I was supposed to be there, but I mixed up the times.
Hey, you saw some guitar players yesterday.
Oh my goodness, yes.
You saw some great guitar
They were
players
all great.
yesterday.
They're all great. I got to see, I couldn't stay because I had to get to church, but I saw our friend from White Cross when he was just kind of goofing around.
Yeah.
I saw
And so
some
I got to
videos
hear him
last
play.
night.
Yeah, Rex.
Rex.
Rex
Yeah,
Carroll.
Great job.
And of course, I already know what Todd's capable of.
Oh, Todd Moyer, man. I love that guy.
I already know what he's capable of.
Yeah.
And if he's listening today,
Hi, Todd.
Todd and I had a little bit of, let's say, riffs in the current. So I like the current idea. But the thing is that if Todd brings that same crew that he had yesterday, and that vocalist, whoever that vocalist was yesterday,
Tina?
yes,
Christina.
if he brings
That's
them,
TNT. That's the band
I will
TNT.
book them on the show myself, and they could have the whole 2 hours.
There you
Because
go, Todd.
I've heard Todd in many configurations, but I was like blown out of the water yesterday.
Well, you got it all yesterday because it was TNT was there,
Right.
Todd Moyer Band was there,
Right.
and then, of course, the great Brian and, man.
I love Brian.
We've had a joke, the whole name thing, the fatal.
Well,
but
But if he brings, I
Stop
guess
it.
when she was singing,
Yeah.
that was the TNT
yeah,
incarnation.
that's the TNT band.
But
yeah.
Todd was on guitar,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
I want them on the show. Todd, if you're listening, I
Yeah.
want them on the show.
With
You
Benny.
don't even have to send me any demos. I want that on the show.
Yeah,
I'm
don't
telling you
forget
right now.
Benny played-
I'm going to tell
Benny was on
Janine
the
right now.
bass.
Benny
TNT
did
band.
play bass.
Todd
Yeah.
Moyer. But it has to be that configuration. I don't want to hear, well, this person wasn't available today. No, because that's what I want the listeners, over 6 million of them, to hear.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It's funny. I just connected with him. I think with Todd just a couple of days ago on Facebook.
See that?
Yeah.
So this is great. So
He's
that's
been really
perfect
sweet
timing.
to us.
And Chris, I'm not going to advertise the other music store that you mentioned unless they want to be a sponsor. So, but I
Uh,
appreciate
yeah.
that. Hey, Chris just told me another place that's closer to me, so I don't have to go down to Girard Avenue. That does an excellent work. But I'm not advertising them. They have to advertise on the show, and they can advertise. So, without further ado, why don't we do some stuff live?
You want to see? You want live?
Let's do it, because
Yeah.
All right.
I know that Vito's out there, so this is for you, Vito, because we never have shredding, but we got shredding today. And I know that Chris is listening too. And I didn't want to do too much live because I know Donnie is a nurse in this thing. And I don't want you to I don't want you to feel bad tomorrow. You'll feel good now, but I don't want it to kick back at you. See, I should have rested yesterday, So anyway, we love you, and we just want you to have a good trip out. And I'm just sorry you didn't see the shore, so you have to plan to come back on the show. And I will personally go with you to Ocean Grove as long as the weather hasn't turned cold yet.
Right.
So let's do that, and then we'll have Janine book you back on the show.
Way funner than urgent care, I
Yeah.
promise.
Way funner.
So if you could afford to come
Ocean
back
Grove
out
is
again, we'll
beautiful.
drive down. We'll drive down to Ocean Grove.
Yeah, I love Ocean Grove. It's beautiful. If you
It's
guys,
the only Christian town in the United States, I think.
yeah, and if you get there, you absolutely have to see the Great Auditorium.
Great
If you
Auditorium,
see
it's-
nothing
it's
there, you
amazing,
have to see the Great
amazing place.
Auditorium. It's amazing.
I saw people like C.C. Winans play in that Great Auditorium. It's the most amazing. It's an amphitheater slash barn, but it's
Yeah.
gigundous.
And it has the biggest pipe organ I've ever seen.
Yes, they have a pipe organ concert.
I mean, it's like 3 stories tall or something insane. I don't know.
So
It's
shout
just
out
like,
to the Ocean Grove Camp Meeting Association who
Yes.
owns the town and keeps the place pristine. And we could even get Donnie Rocks to try some of the vegan ice cream from Days. Over there.
Oh, yeah, yes.
They have regular ice cream in there.
You had her at vegan.
There you
Yeah.
go.
So there we go. Father Chris.
Well, I think, how about we'll do the opening track. It's called Witness. This is the main track of the first EP and the name of the EP. So, Witness.
Witness. Here we go. So we're playing with
Shut my mouth. Tell me not to speak his name. You threaten me with your legislation. Point your finger and cast the blame. I see the heavens open. I see the Son of Man. Blessed of the Father, standing at his right hand. Take away my freedom. Bind me up in chains. Hold your hellish sedition. But I stand in his light to wait. I see the heavens open. I see the Son of Man. Blessed of the Father, standing at his right hand. I see the heavens open. I see the Son of Man. Blessed of the Father, standing at his right hand.
Witness.
And my friend Chris is loving it so much. He says he wants to play rhythm guitar with you next time you come on the show.
Oh, man, come on.
See, there you go. You heard it, Chris. You heard him, Chris. He said you would come and join us. So next time he comes. Okay. So did you guys want to do another one while you're up there?
Let's do another one.
Let's do another one.
Keep on pressing.
I don't think we're going to get all 10 in today, but I
That's
want to get as
fine.
many as I can because this is a real treat for me, and I hope our listeners like Chris and Vito are looking forward to this. So what are we hearing now?
Keep on pressing.
Here we go.
In this world full of trouble, there is sorrow and pain. When it all turns to rubble, we have heaven to gain. But we must endure till the end. Keep on pressing, keep on reaching, keep on confessing, keep on believing, keep on blessing, keep on singing his praise.
much of heaven to gain. But we must endure till the end. Keep on pressing, keep on reaching, keep on confessing, keep on believing, keep on blessing, keep on singing His praise. Keep on reaching, keep on confessing, keep on believing, keep on blessing, keep on singing His praise.
Wow, you like those abrupt endings, That's great. I love it. I noticed it yesterday. I think the engineer was older than me yesterday, and he was like he had to jump out of his chair, in panic because he had to hit the mute button.
That's great.
All right, so let's get you back at the table and relax a little bit. And we don't want to, like I said, we don't want Donnie to expend all of her strength in one shot. But that was great. I would never know that you've been to urgent care twice. That was awesome.
Thank you so much.
You almost did the
God
Donnie
is
shuffle
good.
up there like you did yesterday.
I know.
Yesterday you
It's
did
so
the
hard to
Don-
not
the-
be dancing
the
around.
Donnie shuffle.
It gets
Oh,
me.
yeah. She's a thrasher.
I know. Man.
She's the
Oh, yeah.
thrasher.
It's
I
hard
would
not to
thrash
be-
more if I wasn't so wired to everything.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
you would thrash more if you weren't so.
And like I said,
aged
one day we're going to have like quite a jam show because I'm going to have Vito never gets to come on because I don't do a lot of like I said, the shredding stuff, the real heavy stuff. But Vito and you would love to have dueling leads.
Oh,
Yes.
man, I love that.
Vito would love
I
that.
love
So I want
dueling
Vito to
guitars.
come on. His lovely bride, as I said, this was first wedding I did as an ordained minister. And they're still together. Can you imagine?
Good job.
They didn't kill each other
That's
yet.
awesome. They haven't
So,
killed each
that
other.
means that I did that one. I did everything by the book because when you go to an intern, they have to like do everything. It takes you longer to see the intern than a regular doctor because the professor's looking. Well, I made sure I did the premarital thing where I gave them the homework, the Xerox copies for them to do, and each week we do the homework and all that stuff. Can you imagine?
No, he's looking at me. I was like, I'm coming. I see you.
Make a face at each other. No,
He is.
that was funny.
I always make faces.
That's why Father Chris is cool.
We make faces at each other. A lot of times, married couples can communicate sometimes without words.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is great for all my single unmarried priests out there. Take a page here.
Yeah, right.
It's one thing to have that communication going on without a word being said.
Right. Well, let's take a little break so we could get you to finish out the show with
Yeah.
some live stuff. We get to go a little bit over time for our listeners to think we're coming off the air at 7. We're going to go to, I think, around 7:20 by my calculation.
Sounds
And
great.
we do not have another show till later, so we'll be able to do that. But I believe we came on, it was 5:21, I believe, when we came on. So in any case, stay with us. You're listening to the Sold Out radio program, and right now we're going to play 3 songs in the box. These are also songs I picked because Father Chris is here, and I wanted him to hear some of the stuff we play.
Yeah.
Because some of these artists, Donnie and Chris, have not heard before.
That's great.
And that's why there's a band that's in the ZZ Top style. With
Nice.
the beards and everything
Love it.
from Connecticut.
Really?
Wow.
It took me 6 years, but they're coming to the Coffee House in 2020. They're booked
Yay.
but they're called Raging Grace. They're in one of the boondock towns of Connecticut because they're all farmers.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they're not in the city like Danbury or Bridgeport. In one of the boondock areas. I don't even know what town it is. But Raging Grace, and there's a song that you got to hear the first. It's called Jesus Made an Offer. Okay,
Nice.
And that's the first song that we're going to hear in this next set.
Okay.
The second song we're going to hear is a really obscure group called Eclectic Grace. I never heard
I've
of that.
heard of that.
Actually, one of their members.
Oh
is
my
sitting at the end of
gosh.
Somewhere.
it might be sitting
I
in the
just
room somewhere.
remember hearing
But
that
He has a
somewhere.
song called "Carry Me On." and we're going to play that for the first time on the air. We have never played that song on the air.
Awesome.
It was in the playlist last week,
Can't
but we
wait to
didn't
hear
get
it.
that far in the playlist last week. That's why I moved it up this week. And we're going to finish it up with two crazy people that are on Raven Faith Records, a similar label to the one like what you're on, who I support fully. They're even sending me a T-shirt, which I'm going to wear on the air. They got a brand new T-shirt that says the McCabe's Acoustic on the back and Raven Faith Records on the front. So I'm going to wear it.
Awesome.
But Terry and Diane McCabe, and they have a song called "I'm Not Religious." So we're going to hear that. So here we go. So
Can't wait.
Jesus Made an Offer, Carry Me On, and I'm Not Religious right here on the Sold Out Radio program at HamiltonRadio.net. You're going to like all three of those bands, man.
Great.
This is the CZ Top band. There's only three of them.
Yeah.
There's three
Yeah,
of each
just
band.
like the real.
I love these guys.
Yeah.
I got peace of mind, 5 minutes old. I give my cigarettes to a friend to hold. Hard to see through this wash of tears. I'm the cleanest I've been in 11 years. Pretty good deal for the boy I've been. Jesus made an offer and I said I'm in. I heard the knock and I heard the call. I put my head through the kitchen wall. I ran as far away as I could go. If I had the cash, I'd be in Mexico. The whale got Jonah's attention again. Jesus made an offer and I said I'm in. I'm in for the long haul, even in for the hard haul. Take it as it comes, the thick and the thin. Jesus made an offer and I said I'm in. I'm in for the long haul, even in for the hard ball. You take it as it comes, the thick and the thin. Jesus made an offer and I said I'm in. I ran to the east, I ran to the west. I couldn't outrun the thump in my chest. I ran so hard I stripped all my gears till I found relief from the sum of my fears. Pretty good deal for the man I've been. Jesus made an offer and I said I'm in. It's pretty good deal for the man I've been. Jesus made an offer and I said I'm in. Thank you.
There's a young man from south of Birmingham who spent his whole He's had such a hard time, He says it's time to let go and let God have his dreams. Been such a long time since he was standing tall, but he reached up to God and threw it all. He was singing, carry me on, Lord, carry me on to a place that I know that's where I belong. Carry me on so I can know in my heart the love you had for me right from the start. There's a pretty girl who lived in Colorado, who always dreamed of being a star. She had the whole thing planned out. There was no room for a doubt. Packed full of hope, she ran away. Wasn't a long time till her heart and pockets were broke. She was used and abused when she called up her folks. And she was praying, carry me on, Lord, carry me on to a place that I know that's where I belong. Carry me on so I can know in my heart the love you had for me right from the start. It's time, I should be going. I feel the cold wind blowing. Jesus is calling my name. Who am I to deserve his pardon? It's such a privilege knowing my Jesus died for me. Yeah. Is there anything I can give you in return? For your faithfulness is nothing I could ever earn. I know you'll carry me on, Lord, carry me on to a place that I know is where I belong. Carry me on so I can know in my heart the love you had for me right from the start. Carry me on, Lord, carry me on to a place that I know that's where I belong. Carry me on so I can know in my heart the love you had for me right from the start. Who am I to deserve his pardon? It's such a privilege knowing my Jesus died for me.
to be redeemed. You can even play in a Christian rock and roll band. You better check your heart. Are you living in sin? Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm glad I'm not religious. I'm glad I'm not religious. Oh yeah. I don't wanna be a Pharisee or a Sadducee. Jesus isn't a religion. Jesus is a relationship with God. There's a big difference. Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm glad I'm not religious. Oh yeah. I don't ever wanna be religious. I wanna serve God with my whole heart, with everything I've got.
This is so cool.
That was Terry and Diane McCabe from Raven Faith Records. And here he is with his mohawk. You can't see it, but anyway, but he's got his mohawk. There's Terry and Diane McCabe. I'm going to show it to Donnie as my friend. And I'm not religious.
Yes.
And we're going to get them out here one of these days,
Awesome
as well as
here.
some other Raven Faith artists. But I love husband and wife. They're a husband and wife team, and they do what they do is because they can't get enough Christian gigs in the spot in Ohio where they live. They do they play this stuff intertwined with secular stuff and do bars and restaurants.
Yeah. You got to
Yeah.
do it sometimes to get the message
And
out.
so that's why I'm going to be proudly wearing their shirt that they're sending me and support Raven Faith Records as well as the McCabe's.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're the same way, John. We play anywhere we're asked to go. We don't care what it is.
Right.
We don't care what the venue is. We actually played a great club in York, Pennsylvania
Wow.
a couple of years ago.
Wow.
We did.
Great club. We played there. We play wherever the door opens. So-
Amen. Well, that's true because look at where you are right now. No, just kidding.
Come on. The best
Yeah,
radio
speaking
show
of
on
which, that
the
was a good-
planet.
That was a good seg into the recorded track. We're going to play one more recorded track exclusively off the new CD here before we say goodnight. What is that going to be, Father Chris?
This one is called Breakdown.
Okay.
And
little harder, a little
It's-
more Cookie Monster.
A little more Cookie Monster.
Just a little bit.
They
Just
say
a
that
little
for-
bit, though.
For the screamo.
Oh, yeah.
Because I don't like
Not
screamo.
quite.
But I make a
Cookie
few
Monster
exceptions.
voice.
This one we wrote.
Cookie.
We want
One of the things that I run into as a priest is the wonderful people who suffer with some form of mental illness.
Yeah.
And, when they're struggling with their side effects, that's what I call them, side effects.
Right.
When they're struggling with their side effects, sometimes, they can fall into despair and feel like they just want to give up. And they're on the verge of a breakdown.
Right.
And so we wrote this song to reach. We're telling the story of anxiety, of depression. We're telling the story of how these things come on, but how Jesus,
But God.
He lifts
But
up.
God.
You don't have to break down. That's the name. That's the whole point of the song. Is
Yeah, I
you might
personally
feel like it.
have suffered from lots of
You got to
anxiety.
get this CD, Janine.
Oh, yeah.
I think I need one
So
too.
much anxiety, and
I'll be
only
playing this
God
sucker
could
in
heal
the
me.
car.
Had me at the
That's
first
awesome.
3 or 4 words.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Here we
Break
go.
down.
Break down.
The message you said is exactly the story of my entire day with my son.
Yep. Oh, I was down for years. Like major depressive disorder and everything. Horrible social anxiety. Horrible any kind of anxiety. So I can definitely relate. Got that too. Ah. Love don't hurt. Love don't hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, but I was too scared to leave.
Yeah.
I kept threatening to hurt my kids. But back then, it was like I knew better.
Yeah.
But I was afraid.
you're already in it though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's like you get frozen with
But
fear.
it wasn't like that once. We only got an hour once we had gotten married. Once we were married, he said
Cookie.
I could pass a line or two, but not when it's the whole song.
Still not Cookie Monster.
No.
Nah, I can't do Cookie Monster.
Cookie Monster's the voice. He's the voice on my GPS.
So yeah, he does all of the instruments. I do all the vocal overlays. Like
Oh, there
all
we
the
go.
harmonies are me.
Gotta throw a little bit of
That's
that
the
in
only
there.
thing I can manage to do.
Sneak a little bit of that.
Sure.
And Chris was there to break down.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
You don't have to.
Nope.
You don't.
No, you don't have to. But if you did, it's not such a bad thing sometimes.
He can help you if you do.
He can. And I do it all the time.
Sometimes you got to break the bad stuff down in order to grow something up.
Exactly.
Hey, man, suffering, everybody hates it,
God,
but suffering brings us closer to God, man. So
Right.
sometimes you just got to dig in,
That's
get
a
through.
deficit, I think, in the modern church. We have
Yeah.
no theology of suffering.
Yeah. Well, let's hear one more live tune.
One more
because
live tune.
The clock on the wall
We can do
says, see how fast
it's
2 hours go
times.
by? So we're going to hear one more live tune, and then I'm going to say my goodnights, and we'll hear my friend who's actually watching us on Facebook Live, Sis AJ, take us out with the outro after I say my goodnight. So you're listening to the Sold Out radio program. I'm John Acunzo, and I'm happy to have Janine Janamenico with me today. She does all of my program coordinating, so if you want to be on the show, make sure you write to us at sound, the number 4, and the word ministry at gmail.com. That's sound, the number 4, the word ministry at gmail.com. Or the other email address is radio at eclecticgrace.net or .com.
Org.
Okay, radio at eclecticgrace.org. And then Janine will get you directly. You don't even have, you as the middleman. So what are we going to hear as we say goodnight, Father?
Well, this one is called Betrayed with a Kiss.
Oh, my favorite.
Oh, we love that song.
And that's what we're going to do. And I play this guitar, by the way, John. This is Roxy.
Right, because that's definitely, is that...
This is the guitar version of my wife.
Oh, nice.
And so this is Roxy. And we wrote this song because when we study Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, and we think about him being betrayed by Judas.
Right.
I don't know very many people that haven't been betrayed at some point by somebody.
Absolutely.
And so that's what this song is all about. It's about being betrayed. But more than that, it's about Jesus being betrayed in the garden. All the lyrics point to Jesus.
Yes.
Awesome. It's the Cool Hip Priest live on the Sold Out radio program here at HamiltonRadio.net.
Waiting for my friend, pressed down to
The
the
marrow, I feel the weight of sin.
I love this song.
This cup pass from me. If not, then give me strength. I hear the serpent hiss. I have been betrayed with a kiss. Lights in the distance, startled by the noise. Was there any resistance when you took their coins? Can this cup pass from me? If not, then give me strength. I hear the serpent hiss. I have been betrayed with a kiss.
this cup pass from me? If not, then give me strength. I hear the servant hiss. I have been betrayed with a kiss.
Nice.
That was Donnie Rocks and Father Chris, otherwise known as Cool Hip Priest. And that's okay. We get a little samples in there. It's no problem. We want to thank you for joining us today on the Sold Out program. Thank you guys for being here. Even in the midst of the infirmities, God delivered you. And God will make you well by the time you wake up tomorrow morning in Jesus' name.
Amen.
I pray.
Yes.
All right. And
I
we
receive
want to thank
it.
you, Father Chris, so much. I love you so much. You're welcome here anytime you want.
Thank you, brother.
And let me know. We'll
Oh,
try
don't
and get
invite
some-
us. We're like vampires. We'll keep coming back.
And this way, I want to take you guys to Ocean
You say that
Grove.
like it's a bad thing.
Exactly. And I'm going to have some of my guitar playing friends, now that I know they actually listen to the show today, we'll have them join us. Because the one good thing about this new facility is we plan to do a quarterly coffee house live from here.
Yep.
That's separate from our regular coffee house because we have room for an audience. This
Yeah.
one cleans
I'm
all
gonna
up.
bring my
We're
cord.
going to put some coffee machines back
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna bring
but
my
the next time
cord.
you come,
Oh,
that
don't
might
say
be
coffee.
Set us all up.
That might be one of those
Live
live
audience?
times that we
Wow.
have. My
Right.
guitar player friends come, and we're going to have a blast. We do
That's
2
great.
hours of that.
That's great.
So anyway, thank you everybody for tuning
Thanks,
in.
guys.
Bless
We'll
you.
see you next
Peace
week. Next
out.
week, who
God
do we have,
bless you.
Janine? Who do we have next week? I forget. No.
Actually, next week is off because
Right.
the
I will be at
18th
our worship night.
Right.
Awesome.
In New Jersey that our church is having,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm volunteering in the hospitality tent and also as a greeter. So
Of
we're going to
course.
put a pre-recorded show. I might even have them repeat this show
Oh.
next week, which will be
Woo-woo.
great. So anybody
Oh, that
who
would be
missed
cool.
today's show, you'll be able to hear it next week again,
Yep.
as well as on Facebook Live. You could click on it anytime you want. Once it replays, you could play it.
And
All right,
then
go-
the following week
Yeah,
is
following
some
week.
band that I've never heard of.
Oh yes, Janine is going to be here with Eclectic Grace.
Yes.
We're going to be on
Yes.
the air the
So,
following week, and
Janine.
that'll finish up September. And you'll have to tune in because I'm not going to give away October or whether we have anybody or not. I'm not going to talk about it yet.
It's a
and we're
secret.
just glad that you are all here. I'm not going to give away September either. We're
Yeah,
gonna
we
just
got
talk
some
about-
interesting
we're gonna
ones
talk
for
about
September.
August. We got some good ones
Can't
and-
wait to hear.
and coming up.
Yep.
Anyway, God bless you guys.
God bless
we love
you.
you. Remember to stay sold out to Jesus Christ, and we'll see you on a pre-recorded show next week, and we'll see you live in 2 weeks. God bless.
Awkward pause.
Maybe.
Outro,
Maybe we're
outro,
leaving. Maybe we're not.
Intro.
You don't get an outro today.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Sold Out. We pray the program was truly a blessing to you and invite you to join us every Sunday, live right here on Hamilton Radio, channel HR2. Please feel free to reach out to us. The address is sound4ministry@gmail.com. Till next time, this is your announcer, Yo Adrian, wishing you peace and reminding you to stay sold out to Jesus Christ.